Everyone who plays a racing game usually has a favorite option that feels comfortable to use, and the WipEout series is no different. So, in this video, I'll be creating a tier list ranking the teams from best to worst. To keep the video from being too long, I will talk about each team across the WipEout series as a whole rather than create individual lists for each game. This will not be about the in-game history for these teams. However, I will mention that G-Tech and Tigran are both a part of AG Systems and Kyrex respectively. Also, I will not include any of the extra ships. This tier list will exclude the Drag prototype, all zone ships, the detonator ship, any pure DLC ship that isn't Icarus, Goteki 45, Tigran, or Van Uber, or any pure ship that isn't of the main 12 teams. And last, these are my personal opinions. AG Systems is a team that is supposed to be one step ahead of Phizar. Its speed is slightly higher in the first two games, but is significantly higher in WipEout 3, probably as a reward for unlocking the team. In Fusion, AG Systems is replaced with G-Tech Systems in the lore, so it is very much a part of this team's history. It's not bad, I just don't like the look of the ship in this game. From Pure onward, the ship is back to being a great ship for beginners. In 2048, the prototype's handling is so good, you get double barrel rolls, extended side shifts, and a combat spin in race mode. That alone makes it my go-to ship in 2048, but the existence of G-Tech brings this team to an A tier for me. Oricom is a team that got slightly better over time. It started out as the second heaviest ship, but was a lot easier to steer than Kyrex. It became a mediocre balanced ship in WipEout 3, but became the worst ship in Fusion. Fully upgraded, the ship's turning ability goes down to 0, which I think is a bug, so I never upgraded all the way. By the way, did I mention that it's ugly? Thankfully, the ship in the later games is much easier to control, but in 2048, the overall team goes back to being the heavyweight that it was, heavy enough for its prototype not to be phased by weapon impacts. But it lacks the ability to pick up defensive weapons, and when you're playing on the PlayStation Vita, there is no feedback as to whether you've been hit by weapons or not. That has led me to get eliminated very quickly. This team is better than Kyrex, but because of the heaviness of the Fusion ship and the lackluster abilities of the 2048 prototype, this team gets a C tier. Kyrex is without a doubt the heaviest team before WipEout Fusion. In the first game, it's not really worth choosing the team, even though it's the fastest. You are, however, rewarded for learning how to control it in WipEout XL, 64, and WipEout 3. It became Tigran in Fusion, and ironically is easier to control than Oricom, despite still being a heavy ship. In the later games, it actually became a lot easier to control, but is back on par with Oricom in 2048. The 2048 prototype is the worst, as you cannot pick up any weapons. Instead, you are equipped with an auto-reloading cannon that can do significant damage if you can aim it just right. Even though this was my go-to team in Pure, Pulse, and HD Fury, it's held back by the overall heaviness in the other games. This team gets a D tier. Don't be surprised, but I believe this team is perfect. This is one team you can expect to control easy in every game. From the first game to WipEout 2048, it's excellent for beginners. Even in Fusion, it has easy controls, and its super weapon, the super missiles, is the best in the game. The prototype in 2048 gives a small challenge in that it starts slow, but gains speed with every speed pad, and then resets at the beginning of each lap. Even though it's the slowest team, it easily gets an S tier for its ease of use. Piranha's performance is inconsistent over the history of the games. At its start, it was the best ship in WipEout XL, but you couldn't use any weapon pickups. It was perfected in WipEout 64 with the addition of weapon pickups, but it became a mediocre balanced ship in WipEout 3. It went back to being the best ship in Fusion, but the stats fool you. This ship is too fast to control flawlessly, and its super weapon, the Penetrator, is, in my opinion, very stupid and unnecessary. From Pure onward, it was still one of the fastest ships at the cost of handling. This was done probably to balance the roster of the teams. The physics of Pulse, HD Fury, and 2048 make it easier to control despite its heaviness. But the prototype in 2048 can be a challenge because it has locked thrust and can only be controlled with the air brakes. Because of the inconsistency of the stats across the games, this team gets an F tier for me. Now, for the rest of the team, I don't have a lot to say about because these were not in as many games as the previous, so the opinions will be short. GoTechie45 is one of the starter teams in WipEout 3, and its stats are nothing special. However, in Pure, Pulse, and HD Fury, it has the highest thrust stat, B tier. Assegai is a team that is easy to control and is the best ship in WipEout 3. Its other appearances were in Pure, Pulse, and HD Fury, A tier. Icarus is interesting in that it is the fastest ship in WipEout 3, but it has poor shielding. In Pure, Pulse, and HD Fury, it retains these stats for the most part, B tier. Vancouver is a beginner team in Fusion, and it's the same story in Pure. Its only other appearance is in the Omega version of HD Fury, and it's even better as it has high speed and thrust stats, as well as a maxed handling stat, A tier. I know Tigran was a part of Kyrex in Fusion, but I'm including it here too. It's still fast, but also heavy in Fusion and in Pure. However, it isn't as heavy in the Omega version of HD Fury, D tier. This team isn't a bad team at all. It has decent handling, and I like its orange color scheme, B tier. Triakis is a team that specializes in its durability. It's also unique in that it's supposed to be a heavier ship, but a glitch causes it to control better than it should in WipEout Pure. However, in Pulse and HD, that has been corrected, and it's a heavier ship in those games, C tier. The EGX team is a result of a merger between EGR and Zyos, two teams that only appeared in WipEout Fusion. I like the EGR ship. It's fast, easy to control, and its super weapon launches drones that circle your craft and attack it relentlessly. Zyos isn't a bad ship either, I just don't care for the design. It's also fast as it's up there with the likes of Tigran and Piranha, and its super weapon is a shield drain. EGX is also fast in Pulse and HD Fury, but not as fast as Piranha or Icarus, A tier. Mirage is perhaps the most average team in WipEout Pulse and HD Fury. Its stats are equal across the board, B tier. And here is the completed tier list, and this was actually hard to make. There are only a handful of standout ships in this series, mostly from Fusion. The ships in the first game, the first Piranha ship, the unlockable ships in WipEout 3, all the ships in Fusion, and the prototype ships in 2048 are the only ones that really stand out to me. When I play Pure, Pulse, HD Fury, or with the standard ships in 2048, I generally have a good time and the stats aren't that significant to me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.